Good afternoon to everybody and welcome to the FY23 Budget Submission Training. I am Lauren Kirk.
And I am Kiara Jordan.
And we are going to be going through all of the submission documents and everything that you need to know to prepare for FY23 budget season. So the first thing we're going to do is you're going to make sure, as you can see on the screen, that we are going to be using our OpenGov budget software. So please go to opengov.com. And please make sure that you're using Chrome, and you'll enter in your username, which is your email address, and your password. If you do not remember your password and you are a previous user, you'll have to click the Forgot Your Password link to reset that. So once you enter your information in, we're going to click Sign In. Just give it a second. You're going to navigate on the left-hand side to where it says Budgets. Click that, please. And it'll take you to this home screen. If you are a new user, you might see a few things once we get this loaded. Your budget summary, as you can see on kind of the left-hand side, might be open like this. And so to save some room, you can click the little caret to minimize that to the left. Or you might see this visualization box open like this. And to consolidate that, you'll click the little caret and make that go away. So here we have listed all of the proposals that you're going to be using for your department. Your department will either have 2 or 3 proposals. You can either scroll down to find your department, or you can utilize the search box in kind of the right-hand corner by starting to type in your department name. So we're going to use the Department of Budget and Strategic Planning as an example. So once we type in budget and, you can see our 3 department proposals that we'll be using. The first proposal on here is the FY23 through 27 Budget and Strategic Planning. It's our enhancements and our multi-year forecast. This is where you will enter your FY23 enhancements, and then your request for 24 through 27. As Jason mentioned, we will be doing the multi-year in OpenGov this year. The next proposal that you will see is your department's FY23 operating base. Your operating base is your FY22 operating budget minus any one-time expenses. And that has been pre-populated for you. And then your last proposal, if you have this based on historical actuals, you will have a department overtime, temp, and other personnel base. So we're going to really dive into the operating base to begin with. So if you will click into your department's operating base, the first thing we'd like you to do is to review your description, your mission, your vision, all this verbiage that you'll see populated. This is pulled from your strategic action plan if you submitted one, or possibly your department pages. So you'll review that information and you can make those changes right in this text box. If you scroll down, you'll see all of the documents that have been pre-uploaded for you. These are to assist you. And this also contains the template that you'll re-upload. So the first document you'll see is a PowerPoint presentation that Jason gave us earlier today. The next document is an Excel document. You'll see it's FY23's, your department name, and the word template. That's what we're going to go over in a moment, but that is what you all will submit and re-upload once you're complete. If you are one of those departments that did have one-time funding removed, you'll have a PDF here of what that funding was. The next document is your strategic action plan to assist you. If you submitted one, that will be uploaded as a reference document for you. And then the last document is your FY22 budget reference that you submitted last fiscal year. This, as you can see, has an add document button. This is also, again, where you will upload your template once you're completed for FY23. So now we're going to dive right into that template. So if you will click the download button where it says FY23, your department's name, and the word template, it'll pop up with a little Excel box at the bottom left. Showing that it's downloaded, and you'll click that, and it should open to Excel to the instructions tab. And we'll take a moment. So you're going to make sure that you are here. This is the instructions tab for your FY23 budget submission process. We do recommend that you read through all of these instructions prior to completion, and this can be printed if you would like. A few things to highlight. That number 3, it states all tabs in green are required for you to complete for your submission. Orange are reference tabs. Under number 4, it lets you know the name of the file that you will re-upload. So it's going to be the FY23. your department's name, and the word final before template, so we know which one we're looking at. And then throughout, but more importantly, kind of all the way at the bottom, it lets you know in letter I, and all the way at the bottom that November 12th is the deadline. So that's when all departments will submit their budget, by November 12th. All right, so we're going to move to the next tab, which is green. This is required for your submission. This is the validation checklist. Column B will show all of the things that are required in OpenGov. You'll have a drop down, and this might be a yes in this case because you need to review those items. So NA is not an option, or you might say yes or NA. So if you're a department, for example, that does not have revenue, this might be an NA for you. And then over in column E, you'll see the budget document requirements. Again, it's a drop down of whether you've completed those, which we're about to review. The next tab is a reference tab for your PBB. This is just an example. And then the PBB template tab in green. You'll notice that in orange, that is a reference, and so that has been pre-populated for you. These are the performance measures that the administration intends to track through the budget document. And we are asking you to provide your 20 and 21 performance target and result, and then your 22 and 23 performance targets. And then for reference, you can look at the other tab to complete column F and G. The next tab is orange. This is related to the anti-poverty template. These are the instructions for completing that template. The anti-poverty template is to capture all of the anti-poverty efforts that the city is doing. And so you'll list out your description and the outcome and the strategic priority and the information requested. Please do keep in mind to try to think outside of the box, as there may be efforts that your department is doing that indirectly contribute towards anti-poverty efforts. All right, the next tab is the contracts tab. This has been pre-populated for you for the first two columns based on the active contract listing found on Procurement StarNet website. If your department has contracts, these are listed for you, so we are asking you to provide us the accounting information and then with the amount that's included in your base, whether or not the contract is expected to increase, and if it is expected to increase, the amount that is included in OpenGov as an enhancement to this contract. Again, as these are based on your active contract listing that is pre-populated. So if this is a new contract that will begin in FY23 that you are aware of, you will need to add that here. All right, the next tab we're going to go to is a reference tab for the special revenue fund instructions. This will itemize everything to complete the special revenues fund submission tab. We are asking departments to list out their special funds. You'll list out the name and the description. Please make sure that you connect with the finance department to make sure that the special fund you are requesting does meet the criteria for a special fund. And then you'll populate your accounting information for the cost center and the fund, and the funding source and the total amount. In column L, if you do have a local cash match, meaning the city is contributing money towards the special fund, please ensure that that is included in your submission in OpenGov and that you itemize the accounting string in column M of where that amount is. The last two tabs are reference tabs to help you. We have the budget calendar that has each tasks by month. And then the last tab are the strategic priorities tab, and that will assist you in the anti-poverty template or other areas if you need to list the strategic priorities. All right, so we're all finished with that. We can close out of that and we are back into OpenGov. Again, this is where you're going to click that add document. We do recommend that you save that Excel file to a local drive, and that way when you go back into your add document, you can upload that here once you are complete. All right, we're going to scroll up a little bit and I'm going to pass it over to Kiara to start reviewing the OpenGov information.
Yes, so we will stay within this operating base proposal and go through the tabs. As Lauren mentioned, you'll just begin with your proposals details tab, updating your verbiage. You'll then slide to the expenses tab. Again, we have provided your base amount for you. All you will be doing is making changes within this base amount. If you would like to request anything over and beyond your base, that would be an enhancement, which we will go over later. So the expenses tab is broken out by worksheet by cost center. So you'll see each of your cost centers and your basis for these cost centers. You are free to transfer money between cost center as well as between account and service. So we will go into the first worksheet for budget, which is O2201. As mentioned, we have our base amount here. If we would like to keep our budget as it was for the FY22, we do not have to make any changes, and you do not have to make any changes or adjustments. You can keep as is. If you so choose to make changes, you will be making them in this adjustment column. As an example, in this cost center, O2201, if we need less funds in this membership dues account, we would put the adjustment. So if we needed $2,000 left for a total of $7,184, we would subtract $2,000. OpenGov saves automatically. You'll see the adjustment of negative $2,000 here, and then your proposal amount is now $7,184. The same works in reverse. If we wanted to add $2,000 to the line, we would just put in a positive $2,000 or whatever our change amount is, our adjustment amount is. As mentioned, you have the ability to transfer funds between cost center, service codes, and account codes. However, you cannot go over your base within this operating base proposal. You have the ability to filter by any element of the account string. We're currently in cost center O2201, so we shouldn't need to filter for cost center. We should only need to filter for either the account code, as an example, or service code. Please keep in mind, we only budget at the cost center, service or fund, cost center, service, and account code level. So we should not see any adjustments where there is an activity or a project or grant amount. Those are referenced for actuals, but again, you should not be budgeting where you see activity, a project, or an award number. If you need to add any account line within this cost center, you have the selection to do so below. You'll have to fill out each of the account segments. So you'll start with the fund, which is O100. Please keep in mind that unfortunately Rapids used to use an older fund of O001, but we are the general fund of O100. You'll select your department or cost center. We are within this cost center worksheet, O2201, so we will type in O2201. As mentioned, we aren't budgeting at a project level for a general fund account string, so you will default to 6 zeros. The same with activity, we don't budget at the activity level, so you will default to 4 zeros. You will type in or scroll to search for whatever service code you see fit for this account string. For the award, again, defaulting at 6 zeros. And then you will select whatever account string or account code, that you would like to select for this item. Once you add item here, you'll receive one of two things. You'll receive a green box that will tell you that the account string has been added. I will give OpenGov a second for you to actually see it in this listing. Or you'll receive a red box letting you know that the account string is already within this proposal. If you do receive that red box letting you know that you cannot duplicate an account string, again, I would use this filter in order to filter for whichever account string you're searching for. So for the service or the account code. You should then see it in this listing, and then you'll be able to put in your adjusted amount. Again, you'll be able to see the account code, the account name here, the account string in which you can filter, and you'll have your 23 adjustments. You'll have the base, the adjustment, where you input the adjustment that you inputted, and then your proposed. This is focused on FY23, so you will only be focused on FY23. You do not need to scroll to your right for the other 4 years. We will handle that in the multi-year forecast proposal. So you're only focused on this FY23 information here. Okay. If I hit this little blue done, that will take me back to my list of cost centers for the operating base. This big done will take me back to the citywide listing of proposals. So once I'm done with any changes in 02201 or whatever your first cost center is, you will click this little done to bring you back to your listing of cost centers. And again, you can see the base amount and the adjustments here for a quick summary view. You'll go into each of your worksheets for your cost center and make changes if you see fit. The next tab is your revenue tab. The revenue tab is populated by department, so it will not be by cost center. You will have one worksheet for revenues if your department has departmental revenue. Again, it's focused on the base. So anything over and beyond your revenue base, if there is an additional fee or additional fee you'd like to charge or a new fee that you would like to charge, that will be handled in the enhancement proposal. Here you'll find your base if your department has departmental revenue. And again, you can make changes by cost center or by account code, but you cannot go over your base within this proposal. The last tab for your reference is the activity tab. It just lets you know who has been within this proposal and what changes they've made. So this will be helpful if there are multiple people working in one proposal, just so that you can see different changes that were made and you can make sure you reference the correct person. Once you've completed reviewing your verbiage, your expenses and revenues, if applicable, you can head up to this big gun to go back to your two other proposals. So we'll go over this FY23 Budget and Strategic Planning overtime, temps, and other personnel base. Again, this will be populated with an amount if your department has overtime, temps, or other personnel within the FY22 budget or the base. You can make changes as mentioned by cost center, by account code, and by service within the base amount. The difference here is when you hit your expenses tab, it is a departmental-wide proposal. It is not by cost center. So this will show you your full department overtime, temp, or other personnel, and other personnel, those are like shift differential, education pay, things of that nature. It will be within this proposal. Again, you can make changes by cost center, by account, and by service, but you cannot go over your base amount. Anything over your base amount will be considered an enhancement. This worksheet is similar or exactly the same as your operating. So when you go in, you'll be focused on the FY23 portion. Let's let it load. You'll be focused on this FY23 portion. You do not need to scroll over to your right. And same down here with the add item. If there is a specific accounting line that is not within this proposal, you can add it here. I'm going to hit this big done now because I need to go out of the overtime, temps, and other personnel proposal to my listing, my full listings. The last proposal to review is your FY23 through 27 departmental enhancements and multi-year forecasts. As mentioned, you'll be creating your enhancement requests here as well as your multi-year forecasts. So again, we'll hit that expenses tab. There are 3 enhancements for 23 that have been created for you. Again, they're just for 23. They're numbered 1, 2, and 3. This should be your priority number 1, 2, and 3 as well. If you need additional enhancement worksheets, you can reach out to your analyst and they can create them for you, but please be sure or cognizant of the city's constraints when adding multiple enhancements. You are free to do so, just be mindful. When you go into each of your enhancement proposals, if you have 1, 3, or 7, you'll notice that there's 1 default account string. There's no base, again, because these are enhancements, so you will be adding each string for your enhancement request. If you have 1 initiative that involves multiple line items, multiple accounts, for example, or multiple cost centers, you'll be creating multiple lines. You'll be filling out the FY23 information, since this is a 23 enhancement, and you'll scroll over to your right, all the way to your right, where you see account description, and you will justify the full cost of this account line and initiative. Please be as specific as possible, making sure to indicate if this is mandated, if it's related to any mayoral or council focus areas or priorities, etc. Again, you'll be focused on this FY23 field here, and you'll be adding each account string for this particular enhancement. I'll hit this little gun to take me back to my enhancements and multi-year listing. You'll do the same for enhancement number 1, 2, 3, if you have as many, or again, if you need additional, your analyst will be happy to add new ones for you, new worksheets for you. The last worksheet you see here is FY24 to FY27 multi-year. This is where you put your multi-year forecast. It's set up the same as the enhancements, where you just have currently one line defaulted. You will need to add each item or each account string and justify. We'll let it load. Okay. Please keep in mind, this is the multi-year. So if you had an FY23 enhancement that is reoccurring, you'll need to input that in 24, 25, however many years it is going to be reoccurring. If you have a multi-year request that begins in 25, you'll input that here in 25, and you'll use this caret to open up these years. You'll input here in 25. Again, if it's reoccurring, it'll be in 26 and 27 as well. If it's one-time cost, it'll just be in whichever year you are requesting. But again, if you have an FY23 enhancement that it will be reoccurring, you will import it here as well, or input it here as well. If you have a revenue enhancement, again, over and above your revenue base, there are no worksheets currently created. You'll have to reach out to your analyst to add that. This is for any new fees, any adjusted fees, etc. So you'll have to reach out to your analyst to record any revenue enhancement over and beyond your base. I'd like to point out in each of the proposals, so if you have 2 or 3 proposals for your department, you have the ability to export. You have the ability to export into Excel. You will need to export for either the 2 or the 3 proposals that you have, just so your department can have your information that you submitted. It's an export for all verbiage as well as financial data. So you'll have everything from OpenGov in that export. We talked about this big gun here. It will take you to the full listing of citywide proposals, or if you have your typed in filter, it'll take you to your department's 2 or 3 proposals. You will hit this button until you submit your budget. You won't hit the submit proposal until you are ready to submit everything within OpenGov. So you are complete with your proposal, your operating, your overtime and temp, and your enhancements. You've also re-uploaded your template. That's when you hit the submit proposal button. If you happen to accidentally hit it beforehand and you weren't complete with your submission, just reach out to your analyst and they'll reject it in order to send it back to you for editing. You won't be able to edit if you have it in a submitted status. You'll have to let us know so that we can reject it to send it back to you for editing. I'll hit this big gun. I just want to reiterate, you as users will not have an export button at this level, so you'll have to export each of these proposals if you have information in it. For example, the Budget and Strategic Planning Department, we have no need to export the overtime, temps, and personnel base because you don't have a base and you don't plan on requesting, if you didn't plan on requesting any overtime, temps, or the personnel, there will be no need to export. But feel free to export all 3 if you so choose. I'd like to reiterate that on the instructions tab that Lauren went over in our proposals, there are step-by-step instructions for submitting an OpenGov as well. So you have these instructions on your instruction tab. I'd also like to point out that we will be holding question and answer sessions on October 20th and October 27th. So Wednesday for 1 week from kickoff and then another week after. Times are TBD, so be on the lookout for those. But of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your analyst. I would also like to reiterate the due date, which is November 12th of this year. That is all. Lauren, do you have anything else to add before we close out?
I just wanted to add real quick that we have granted access to the previous users and then new users that we've been informed need access to OpenGov. So if you do have somebody in your department that does not have OpenGov access, that needs OpenGov access, please contact your analyst so that we can get them set up for that. But that is all. Thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.